We're one book away from the end of the Locked Tomb series? Maybe. And although Tamsyn Muir said herself in the Acknowledgements that there are almost no memes in Nona, you can bet they're still there. So let's see how many memes and references we can fit into this video, and as always, if you think I've missed any, please put them in the comments of this video so we can all share. Oh, and just as a warning, if you've not read Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, or Nona the Ninth, do not watch this video unless you're not going to read the series at all, because it contains major spoilers. P.S. I want to say a huge thank you to my read-along buddies in my Discord, because without them, I wouldn't have found all the memes and references in this video. You guys are the best. We start on page 26, where we've just been introduced to Nona as she's going through her daily task with Pyrrha and Camilla/Palamedes. While Pyrrha does Nona's hair and Palamedes makes coffee, they start discussing Pyrrha's caffeine addiction when Palamedes says, "Cam's body is a temple. She's the one who banned me from a life peddling poor quality erotica. Says she doesn't want our last gift to the universe to be tales of people mashing birthday cakes beneath their bottoms." This is in fact an H-Wood reference. Specifically, a strip from 2004 where Ray asks Roast Beef how to protect his computer from spyware because he's been looking at some dodgy sites. When Roast Beef says, "I don't recall you advising any women on the subject of mashing birthday cakes around under their bottoms, yet that's exactly what I see here." On page 75 and in the second John section of the book, John explains how, after they were told to shut down, he goes to each of his favourite bodies to say goodbye. I know it was weird having favourites, but let's bloody face it, I'd gone weird. Not even saying goodbye, just saying it will be fine. Hang on for me. Kia kaha kia mia. Kia kaha kia mia is a Maori phrase used by the people of New Zealand as an affirmation. It means be strong, be brave, or be steadfast. Tamsyn has added Maori phrases into every one of the Locked Tomb books, and this one is no different, so you can bet she'll add one in Alecto the Ninth too. On page 86, Nona, Pyrrha, and Camilla are all walking, Nona to school and Pyrrha to work. When it comes time for Pyrrha to branch off and go to work, she says to Camilla, "I'll be home for dinner, honey. So don't go out with your girls and get your nails did." Now, I can't be 100% certain on this one, but I think this is a reference to the Missy Elliott song Work It. As usual, I can't post the video audio here, so instead, I'll show you a clip and read over it in my very British, very cringy way. If you're a fly gal, then get your nails done, get a pedicure, get your hair did. Great song, by the way. On page 96, Hot Sauce asks Nona to go outside and pretend she's on the radio because she thinks they're being watched. Nona has to walk Noodle anyway, so she goes outside and spends some time putting these little clog type things on Noodle's feet to protect them from the hot floor. When the patterns were on, he clattered out into the courtyard. He sounded like 1.5 horses. This is a reference to the Neil Cicierega strip called Ariel Needs Legs. In this strip, Ariel talks to Ursula about needing legs in return for her voice. Ursula says, "It's 8 legs, right?" And Ariel struggles to remember, so she agrees to 8. Once transformed and on land, Ariel realizes it was meant to be 2 legs, but meets up with Eric anyway, who says, "You sound like 2 horses." Noodle has 6 legs, not 8, so instead of 2 horses, he sounds like 1.5. On page 105, Camilla picks up Nona from school and on the way home pops into a bakery. They stopped at the street their building was on, and Cam ducked into a bakery and came out with a warm and possibly radioactive paper bag of pastries that had been under the bakery light the whole time. This is a reference to this really weird clip of a policeman interviewing a suspected car thief. When he asks for the suspect's name, the suspect says he was going to buy a pie from the BP station. And the officer says,
3 o'clock in the morning, that pie's been in the warming drawer for probably about 12 hours. It'll be thermonuclear. And it's always blowing the pie. I'm hungry. Always blowing the pie. Safer communities together.
On page 151, Nona, Palamedes/Camilla, and Pyrrha have all been taken to a secret location and tied up by Blood of Eden. We Suffer, who seems to be the leader in this situation, has asked them to take a look at something on the projector. The guard flipped the switch. In response, the projector hummed to life and the white screen exploded into greys. But the image projected came into focus so slowly that it was barely a picture at all. It looked as though it was being painted on the screen row by row, from the top to the bottom, every row constantly redrafted with higher resolution and sharpness. This isn't specifically a reference, but it is something most millennials and older will have experienced. The achingly slow load of a page on the early days of the internet. Good job nobody needed to use the phone at the same time. On page 168, the meeting is over and Crown takes the crew to go see the captain, who is looking a little bit worse for wear. The captain seems to be delirious and not quite herself when she says, "You haven't talked sense in months. You're the one facing the dark night of the soul, princess." The Dark Night of the Soul is a poem by St. John of the Cross, who is considered one of Spanish literature's most important poets. In the poem, the Dark Night of the Soul refers to the author's relationship and journey with God. The journey is called the Dark Night because darkness represents the fact that the destination, God, is unknowable. The phrase Dark Night of the Soul is frequently used in everyday life as a way to explain a period in somebody's life where they're going through something traumatic or difficult, for example, like losing a loved one. So I reckon the captain is saying here that she reckons Crown is struggling with her relationship with God, the Emperor, and also the loss of her sister. And Crown responds by saying that she's just being dramatic. On page 242, the kids are kind of nervous because there's this big militia presence in the city, and so the angel decides to give them a lesson on some really important places to hide in the city, should they need to. And once she's done, she says, "But what we know is that we don't know anything, okay? I want you not to make that your motto. What we know is that we don't know anything." I believe this is a reference to War and Peace, specifically the line, "We can know only that we know nothing, and that is the highest degree of human wisdom." On page 342, Nona and Co have just entered the building that contains Prince Ianthe Naberius so that they can search for and locate Gideon. Ianthe has had enough of their interrogation and she gives Camilla the option of letting her kill Camilla now or later. Instead, Camilla brings back a challenge that was from way back in the first book and accepts the challenge. Ianthe refuses and says, "Not only is that fishy, but it's unoriginal." The outnumbered, overpowered hero against a narcissistic villain. Yuck. Just like a storybook. As poor old Augustine used to say, it's impossible, and what's more, it's improbable. Kneel her. I believe this is a Sherlock Holmes reference, specifically from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's second book featuring Sherlock Holmes, The Sign of Four. Specifically the line, "How often have I said to you that when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth?" Which basically means that once you've eliminated all the suspects, the only person that remains must be guilty, even if it seems kind of improbable. Which I guess is Ianthe's way of saying that she's been unjustly accused and made out to be the villain when she's not. Okay, this one's a bit of fun. On page 373, Gideon decides to stop playing dead, and everybody is wondering why she's even alive and why her personality has kind of changed. Camilla and Palamedes want to get a sample from Gideon to test a theory, but when they put a needle into her arm, it breaks. Gideon explains that she's basically a construct now with really hard skin, and Pyrrha says, "Shame you didn't get some spackle for your extra holes, right?" And Gideon says, "Those are my speed holes. They help me go fast." Which is not only a Simpsons reference, it's also a reference that was made in the first book, Gideon the Ninth, and a reference I mentioned in my Gideon the Ninth memes video. This is the description from Gideon the Ninth. "Half a dozen tendrils came after her. They would have given her an interesting array of new air holes for speed, but a skeleton staggered out of the darkness and took most of the blows." So let's get to the Simpsons reference. In Season 6, Episode 15, Homie the Clown, Krusty's gambling debts land him in deep trouble with the Springfield Mafia. To make money, he opens a training college for clowns and Homer enrolls. Homer starts taking on jobs that Krusty deems beneath him and discovers the benefits of impersonating the famous clown. namely discounts and free stuff. While trying this on at a car dealer he's mistaken for Krusty by the mafia and is shot at, this is where the line "speed holes" comes from.
I can't give you the car, Krusty, but I can let you have this little number for practically nothing. Only 38,000.
Hey, what are all these holes?
These are speed holes. They make the car go faster.
Oh yeah, speed holes.
On page 429, we've just been through some really traumatic pages where Camilla and Palamedes essentially fuse together to create one new person. Everyone has bundled onto a shuttle and saying goodbye, we suffer, says goodbye to Nona, and then stumbles on Camilla/Palamedes, not knowing what to call them, when they say, "Hall," they suggested. Thanks to somebody amazing in my Discord community, I believe this to be a Dune reference. Hall is a melange soul now, and melange is another name for the spice in Dune, which gives the consumer heightened abilities. Of course, Paul is also the main protagonist in the Dune books. Pretty cool. Okay, this next one could be completely wrong, but I'm going to go for it anyway. On page 440, Nona has taken control of the ship and steers it through the river when she spots a tower in the distance and thinks there was a thought above and below that knew what it was, but the moment she looked at either thought, she'd lose the game. I'm going to go on a limb here and say that this is a reference to The Game, which is a mind game where the objective is to try not to think about the game at all costs. If you think about the game, you've lost the game. Everyone is playing all the time and you can't opt out. Upon thinking about the game, you lose and must announce that you've lost. This forces others to lose the game and spreads the game to new people. I'm so sorry. I lost the game, you've lost the game, and Nona has lost the game. On page 475, the locked tomb has been opened and the body is awake. This chapter is in a completely different voice, and the children are talking to the body. To which the first child said, "My sweet, I only die of longing for thee." And the other child said, "Then perish." This references the meme, "Then perish." The "Then perish" meme is a meme that involves an image of Barack Obama's eyes with a red filter, with the words, "Then perish." This meme is usually used as a response to posts with content somebody wishes to express displeasure, dissatisfaction, or contempt towards. Clearly, one child is not happy with the other. Alright, Bone fans, did I miss any? Leave them in the comments if I did. And if you need another The Locked Tomb fix, check out this video below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.